So MSME schemes are there, you have to keep educating yourself, but then what changes are happening, that also you should be aware. And I'm honored to be part of the When India event which is organized today for MSMEs in fact, right? So I would definitely go over what is MSME, how is the government, pictures, what's the MSME program, is all about, and what are the different schemes we have, how every one of us can get benefited from it, although definitely there is some struggle, it's not easy because the population is also so much, and the dreams and, I'm sure every woman is a dreamer, right? And we want to do something special, definitely, in wherever, whatever we are doing. So, yeah. So the micro, small and medium enterprises. Yeah, we'll talk about it a bit, and I specifically, tried to this particular session. I mean, though I've sessions, I've given sessions in FICCI and the other MSME forums, where mostly I had focused on the industrial part, where at a small scale people are actually doing business from a factory point of view and a manufacturing point of view. But I think, given the crowd, I would mostly focus on the artifacts, the different elements which we actually we can do it from home as well, as a small scale business, or I think that is the topic of today, right? So I wanted to structure it that way. So as you can see, this is I've put together the terracotta terracotta jewelry, terracotta items which from Bengal and many other places where you can actually source. That is one way. There you can always look at how you can get the artisans and bring them together onto your platform and build your business. At the same time, you're making some profit out of it, but then you're also employing so many people and giving them the opportunities, right? So my company ensconce I look at the growth assessments of the businesses. I bring in the operational elements, where you're going wrong, what's happening with your business, where are the areas of improvement, where are certain things which you can actually catch up on from a customer's point of view, from employees' point of view. That's my strength, and I believe customers and employees are the people who can actually break or make the company. So if we can strengthen the process from a customer engagement point of view or an employee engagement point of view, our business definitely is going to flourish. Most of the companies I have seen, I've been helping, the people who have set up the processes from beginning, definitely they have very much structured growth, and I completely believe in it because I've also been in IT for about so many years. So I've been last 20-21 years, whatever I've seen the IT growth happening, they have a structured approach to whatever we are doing from a customer point of view or from an employee point of view, or be it the operational elements in the businesses itself. So can we strengthen that? It will definitely help us to be at par with those corporates, and see if we can actually realize our vision and dream, right? So we look at the operational elements, service and product development, customer connect and engagement, and employee issues and capabilities. We look at 5 different factors: sales, products, performance, financials, and services, all 3 areas. And we not only help you strategize, plan, but we also enable you and handhold you until you are established and you are free to do things on your own. So that's about me, and startups and MSME growth figures I just wanted to quickly touch upon. As you can see, in India, if you observe or if you actually go read through the articles and all that, most of the employment opportunities actually come from the MSMEs. Corporates, yes, they are looking at a big chunk, no doubt, because they are actually making big in their respective businesses. But if you look at the numbers aspect, MSMEs are actually the big in numbers. Even the employment figures are also very high compared to the corporates. MSMEs put together overall, they are very much. That's why MSME is gaining very much, prominence across with the world, not only in India. So, and we just have to be more aware of the different MSME opportunities which the government is also, educating us on, and how we can actually, take the best, what they have to provide us, right? So, employment generation is something which, so definitely we are looking at equitable economical growth, and enhancing the export potentials. Government definitely has eased a lot of things we will talk about in the next slides, eased some of the things which for the MSMEs, and from an export and import point of view also they have eased some of the aspects which we can look at. These are the figures which I have taken from the Udyog Aadhar website. I will talk about what is Udyog Aadhar and how it can help us. And if you can see the comparison of the MSME industry and the segment sector, when you compare it with the overall industry figures, as you can see that the growth rate is almost, overall industry, I'm sorry, not the corporates, yeah. So put together, if you see 2015, 2016, again, this is the data which I have taken from the MSME government websites and RBI sites. The data which I am producing, this is taken from the MSME and the RBI sites. And as you can see, 6.6 growth rate is only from the MSME. The blue lines are, the blue lines is actually the industry sector to overall industry sector, and red is the MSME. Right, so 7.62 is what you are looking at the growth rate, and 6.6. So as you can see, it has always been at par with the overall industry growth. So that actually shows the potential of the MSME segment and how each one of us can actually become an MSME, part of MSME, right? So MSME enterprises, how do they get categorized? If you look at MSME means micro, small, medium enterprises. Okay, micro enterprises annual turnover is less than 5 crores, small enterprises are 5 to 75 crores, and medium enterprises are 75 to 250 crores. Yeah, so up to 250 crores of business, any company which makes up to 250 crores of business falls under the MSME. You can say that every segment, every building, every corner of our India is actually an MSME, though they probably don't get listed as an MSME, but they are MSMEs. So up to 250 crores, and under manufacturing and service sector, they look at the investment part also on how they can actually get categorized. 25 lakhs, up to 25 lakhs is micro enterprises. When your investment exceeds from 25 lakhs to 5 crores, you can fall under the small enterprises, and medium enterprises you can it exceeds from 5 crores. Similarly, on the service sector, now you can have service companies, and also you can look at the manufacturing companies. There are two different elements when you look at the MSMEs. That is how the government has also categorized. So I hope you all understand from a manufacturing company and what is a service company, right? Yeah. So so some key takeaways from MSMEs from the budget 2019 and 2020. 2020 is what I actually tried to list down here. You can avail 2% interest subvention for the loans up to 1 crore INR. Right, that's something which, but you have to be registered under GST to take that as a benefit. So any schemes under MSMEs, right, there will be some or the other restrictions. They will look at some of the schemes. They will ensure that yes, either you are giving a collateral or you are giving a 3 years transaction, 3 years business, your P&L statements and balance sheets. Those things you will have to produce to make sure that yes, they study, and then if you are eligible, you can actually go for it. I will talk about all that. Share of government procurement from MSMEs through government e-markets place. Every one of us, even the art and colors, or for any of your businesses, you can actually get registered under the government e-marketplace, but you will have to first get registered as an MSME. Udyog Aadhar registration is something which you'll have to go for that. Then you can get listed under the government e-markets place, where it will help you to get the the kind of trading opportunities. You can put tenders in the, it's like doing business with the government sector. So you can also look at those kind of opportunities, and where you can actually put up your services and all that. Definitely it's a big network, so not only to the government, but I'm sure the businesses will also get to interact. It's more like a network, where platform which you can utilize. This share of government procurement has increased from 25%, it increased to 25% from 18% since last year, and it actually includes 3% from the women-led MSMEs. Women-led MSMEs are always given a preference. If you look at the subsidies, if you look at the, any of these schemes which you look at, women definitely gets the bigger share, because India definitely, the government want to encourage the women entrepreneurs and see if we can actually do our bit. Businesses with annual turnovers which are less than 5 crores are allowed to file quarterly returns. As you probably see, GST returns and all that, you had to file monthly earlier. Now you can file quarterly. So you don't necessarily do it monthly as such, but I would suggest you do it monthly, because it eases your efforts a lot rather than doing your quarterly. I'm not sure how many of you are GST registered. Yeah. So that is a GST exemption from the small traders. As you can see, GST is not actually required unless you cross the, some states it is 20 lakhs, some states it is 40 lakhs. So you don't necessarily have to have GST registration, but it depends on the companies you are going to deal with, because some companies will ask for your GST registration, only then they will want to do the business with you. Right, so there is a criteria on that. Actually, people will ask you whether you want to go for it or not, right? So that's something which you'll have to decide depending on the kind of target audience you are looking at, what kind of business you are doing with which kind of audience, right? Next, GST compensation schemes are also there for the small service providers. So that's something which you can also look at. So this is something I just quickly put together. There's many other things which had come as part of the budget. You could also read through that, but these are very important. Now typical MSME challenges, if you have to see, working capital definitely is a problem. Access to credit, because you'll probably from credit gap is something which is looked at. As I've mentioned here, easy access to credit is definitely difficult for any of the MSMEs, and they also face 16 lakh crore credit gap actually. When you look at, let's say for example, simple GST registrations, when you are doing the credit which you are supposed to get as part of the payments which you are supposed to, that credit gap also builds up unless you are very clear on how the credit can be utilized for your own GST filing. Right, this is something which you can talk to your CAs and get educated upon on how you can actually get benefited from the GST registered entity itself, right, from a point of view that. And lending to MSMEs has not been favorable for large banking institutions, right? It has always been there. You knock at their door, I don't think you are actually even given a chance to speak for your company or something, right? First thing first, you have to prepare the project reports, make sure that you are aware of the schemes, have that kind of an understanding, so you can rightly ask those right questions, and people will probably give you those kind of answers which is required. And obviously we'll have to show our potential, say why any business or any company would give you investment or money. If you have the repayment capacity, they would want to see that. Whether they will also get the money back or not, that's definitely a very important criteria for them. So that's the reason why they are so stringent on those, policies and, the way they handle it. Shipping and logistics is one problem. Yeah, that poor road connectivity and network issues we have, right? And lack of skilled and trustworthy delivery partners. At the end of the day, we all, struggle to find a good co-founder or a good partner or good set of employees who can actually run our business while we are taking a step ahead for growing our businesses itself, right? Expensive shipping charges, obviously that is something which we all look at, although there are a number of service providers for the shipping and domestic and international, you could always evaluate them. Lack of access to the latest technology, yes, technology has always been hindrance, but then also it's about we educating ourselves how to we make use of best use of technology, right? Skill development, MSMEs, government entities do provide the skill development programs. MSME government entities do provide the skill development programs you can be part of, and recently they did a Six Sigma certification program in the MSME Rajajinagar Institute. It was very cost effective, and usually if you go out, people will, the coaches will Six Sigma coaching it would cost around 30 to 50K depending on the people, right? So that was offered for 8,500 by the MSME. So that kind of, benefits you could actually look at if you are part of the MSME, and you will be time to time you will be invited for such sessions so that you can get benefit out of it. Established schemes from MSMEs, digitization has helped to some extent. I think it is a digitization era, definitely, no doubt about it. Everyone is going online. You have to build your business online. There is no, there's no doubt on that, right? Restructuring on MSME schemes, loans and subsidiaries, this is an ongoing process here. So MSME schemes are there, you have to keep educating yourself, but then what changes are happening, that also you should be aware. Right, and MSME DIs. MSME DIs are nothing but the the institutes, development institutes. We have the MSME DIs established in many places, facility centers and development institutes. Across, in Bangalore you have in Rajaji Nagar, where you can actually approach them and see, you can approach them and see where, how your, what is the kind of synergies you can actually build with the MSME segment, what is that, you could do for them or they could do for you. You can actually talk about it, and there are development institutes and centers available, and they would be able to guide you further on that. So let's say if you have to go for financial assistance, any MSME, as an MSME, definitely get yourself registered as MSME or NSIC. NSIC would benefit if you are a manufacturing company, better. If you are a services company, MSME or NSIC doesn't matter, but MSME Udyogada registration is the primary one. But if you are looking at some of the working capital, raw material procurement, like I have mentioned, the product marketing, acquisition of, some of the machinery, let's say, if you want some kind of investment help, the NSIC registration is better for such companies. So I put down that a National Small Industries Corporation Limited, NSIC, and typical project template looks like land and building details, manufacturing capacity per annum, manufacturing process, machinery and equipment, raw materials requirements, power and consumption details, manpower needs, marketing, cost of project and production, financial analysis and economic viability of projects, right? So even for the small scale industries where you are looking at, employing maybe 10 to 15 women entrepreneurs, and they're probably looking at some khadi products or coir products or some things like that, you can always create like a small utility. You can actually look at the investment part and all that, approach and see how the subsidies can be availed, right? So that's about it. So eligibility criteria, obviously they will look at the economic viability of it, and promoters contribution. They would want you to contribute enough, first, not enough, in the beginning itself, before even they give you loan. So that's definitely a criteria, as simple as even for the home loans. I'm telling you, even if you go for the home loans, the expectation is that you pay the 20%, right, initially, before they disperse the 80%. Same is the case even for any of the schemes. They would want you to to put in some money, so that yes, you have that capacity. They would look at all these things before they issue the loan actually. So capacity to repay the loan and collateral securities and the guarantee, that you could have to look at from your so project template typically looks at that. Providing credit to MSMEs, how do you get the credit? There are many schemes, and I've tried to detail them. SIDBI, as you know, the SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. Okay, that's the SIDBI. SIDBI typically gives for the established manufacturing or service organization. It would only look at that. SIDBI don't necessarily give for the new entities. That is my observation. And NABARD is there, SFCs, state financial corporations, NBFCs, I'm sure you would have probably heard of it, NBFC, Bajaj, and many other agencies where you look at. Fintech companies are providing, there are a lot of angel investors also. Fintech companies are one way of looking at it. You can also approach them for the investments what you are looking for. NSIC I talked about, and SIDCs, State Industrial Development Investment Corporations. So these are the typical schemes of NSICs, where I mentioned I think earlier also, raw material assistance, working capital assistance and marketing assistance. And credit guarantee fund scheme, there is one thing, and NSIC ESIC marketing assistance schemes you have, where you can actually get the marketing help as well. PM EGP loans, where which are implemented by the KVIC and DIC, and Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, Sishu, Kishore, Tarun. There are many ways, 50,000, 1 lakh. They have their slabs against each one of these yojanas. So that's how you look at when it's whether it's a small investment you are looking for, loan you are looking for, and what is it you are looking for. So accordingly you can approach. This is what credit guarantee fund scheme. They take a percentage, 2% or something like that year on year against for the turnover what is happening, so that they can make sure that the credit guarantee is actually so they are also safeguarding that on their end. So these are all the rules and regulations which you will probably get to know when you approach them. And policies and schemes by the state governments, again you look at the MSME development institutes I told you, right? DICs, district industry centers, development and management of industrial estates, suspension and deferment of sales tax. Sales tax is also, you would get benefit against the sales tax. Power subsidies you will get, capital investments, seed capital investments or margin money assistance scheme, for the water connection, power connection and all that, also allotment, and also land allotment or power connections, any kind of allotments you will have to go through the respective organizations. There are many of them. MSMEs will advise you, MSME organization DIC centers will advise you where to go, where to approach. Typically for land allotments you will have to approach the KIADB. So like that, yeah. So this is an annual report which I've actually got it from the MSME government website. Has been availed against each of these schemes. So it gives you an idea of yes, government is funding. It's not that they are not funding, they are funding, but you will also have to make sure that yes, you are capable enough to go and get one of those schemes availed for you, right? So marketing assistance scheme I talked about. Then you have Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, PMEGP they say actually. So and credit guarantee scheme I talked about. Then skill development, there is one more very good certification which is zero effect and zero defect, ZED certification, right? These days I know you probably would have heard ISO, and you probably would have heard Six Sigma and all that, right? So this is the next level where you look at the overall development of the organization. ZED, if you are compliant and you are certified, you don't have to get any other certifications. That is the trend which is happening now. Even the MSME DICs, they give you such opportunities where they can get you some of those training programs where you can invest at a low cost and get certified by there are many organizations who help you with the Z certifications. That is also something which you can look at, provided you are scaled up to a certain level. Then you go for the zero effect and zero defect certifications. Then you have, I talked about Koir Udyami Yojana is there, Koir products, if you want to look at the Koir products, all that. Then you have the national awards, yeah, they keep doing those things. You can keep an eye on the website, MSMEs, and technology upgradation programs are there, and procurement and marketing support scheme, credit linked capital subsidy schemes, then lean manufacturing. Then you have incubation center support. So there are many of them but you can probably look at as CGTMS, which I was talking about, the credit guarantee scheme, that is the most availed by most of the existing established businesses. This is okay, and Z, zero effect, zero defect. Government gives you against the cost of the ZED certification, which they give a subsidy or some kind of a benefit against the Z certification. So you can also avail that actually if you are going for that, right? And okay, that's about it. There are other venture capital firms where you can look at, promoted by the central government, SIDBI I told you, and then you have the IFCI venture capital funds. Promoted by the public banks, you have the SBI Canada Venture Capital Fund, CanBank, right? And promoted by the state governments, again each government will have their entities where they look at as a venture capitalist firms, where you can look at. So some of them will be established as nationalized banks, some of them will be NBFCs, some of them will be private. So you will probably have to reach out based on, you know, how they are going to give you the benefit. Private sector companies, you have some, and then apart from that you will have the venture VCs and angel investors funding and all that you could approach, right. So under MSME, Ministry of MSME, you have MSME Development Institutes I talked about, State Directories of Industries, District Industry Centers, Khadi and Village Industries Commission, COIR Board is there, National Small Industries Corporation. Then you have NIMSME, which is, you know, National Institute, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Rural Industrialization. These are the different boards against, you know, you can actually look at, you know, how you can avail any of these subsidy programs. You can read through in the MSME website. I will just quickly run through that, the site also. And subsidy programs you can look at the marketing promotion schemes, technology upgradation and quality certification, which I talked about, entrepreneurship and skill development programs, like I've talked about the Six Sigma certification, Z certification programs. They do introduce once in a while. You can go and attend them. Infrastructure development programs also they do give. So land allotment, working capital, machinery, those things you can actually look at the subsidy if you can avail from them. So this is the typical, many of them I have listed few of them actually here, but Udyogadar registration, how do you do the Udyogadar registration? It's free of cost. You can simply, you know, it takes a minute for you to get registered as an MSME, and you know, it's instant. You will get the certificate as an MSME registered company, and as when you get an MSME registered company, that means you are a sole proprietor. Okay, so you don't need any other sole proprietor registration, I mean as such, to be recognized as an entity. MSME registration will give you that benefit of registering yourself as a sole proprietor registration. Even GST registration also, if you are doing, that also gives you the status of sole proprietor registration. If you are going ahead and, you know, establishing yourself as an MCA recognized entity, then you are looking at private organization or LLP or you know, the other partnership, you know, agreements and all that. So there are a number of ways how you can actually get your company registered. No, you want to start small, you can always look at as a sole proprietorship registration. But okay, if you want to have a setup, some shop or some, you know, let's say if you have some 10 or 15 employees for your company, then you have to have a shop and establishment registration. That is also mandatory. So these are the different things. Shop and establishment, I think now it's done manually, but I'm sure that will also come as online, right? Yeah, it has come already. Yeah. So I think so CAs should be able to help you with that. So they should be able to get this shop and establishment registration done. Right. So that's about that. This is the cluster development program I wanted to talk about. Any companies, like any set of companies, let's say if you are restaurants, you are a group of restaurants, can actually get together as a cluster. Similarly, manufacturing companies, let's say if you are in art and crafts and such kind of, you can look at your own clusters and see how you can actually bring together, right. So government actually helps you to bring such clusters into practice, where you can actually form a group within yourself, and as a cluster, government will help you in some of these subsidies and the other activities. Obviously the cost would go down, right, for the MSMEs, and also for the from a government point of view, if they have to subsidize something, from a training aspect, from a technology point of view, from facility centers. I've tried to list down some of them. So if objectives of the scheme is to support the sustainability and growth of the MSMEs, build the capacity of the MSMEs, whether it is to do with your technology skills or any other kind of upgradation machinery or anything, right. So that infrastructure facilities they will provide you a centers where you can actually establish yourself as a cluster, then common facility centers at right. And they also these days, I think e-waste, waste management definitely is taking a very you know, important, it's becoming an important thing. So those kind of clusters are actually being promoted well. So what you can look at is grant restrictions. I mean some grant restrictions will be there, but then typically some of the costs of the projects, where you can actually look at is cost of the land, building pre-operative expenses, preliminary expenses, machinery and equipment, miscellaneous fixed assets, and support infrastructure as water supply, electricity, and working capital and all that. This is how the clusters help. Typically, this will help mostly for the manufacturing segments, manufacturing industries, but I wanted to bring upon because you asked for the cluster CDP programs, right? How is it structured? So, this is how you can reach out to the MSMEs, you can tell them that yes, I am one of the MSME registered entity and I would like to avail as part of these cluster development programs. I am sure there will be a cost associated with it and you know, they would be able to explain you more on that. Yeah. So, that is about